there is a target list and the way they want to do it. But the question is, who will they give that to? We've looked into this information for you and we found this list. But we're also going to go down from 2024 to 2025. What exactly is that going to look like? So we're going to go into this here with you live as we bring out a few steps, not only the civil emergency disturbance situation we talked about, but we have more situations that's brewing up behind this as all this information is starting to come out. First off, moving into how the military is going to change. That's what we want to get to right now. We gave you a detailed map of the falling population plan. We're going to go into that. So this data right here on screen is the DSAC portal. It's a government website. What they've done, they put a bunch of people on a list. And this list talks about people that basically they basically exercise power and influence initiatives, possibly including firearm legislation, the easing of immigration and restrictions, new limits on the public use of land, discontent with the COVID-19 measures. So you've been put on the list for this. And stuff like this too as well. They got it on here. But when you look into what they're actually saying in the most recent, this list will be given to a new force that would be taking over the United States. How would that look like? Well, let's listen to what they say recently.
To migrants under a new bill introduced by Hudson Valley Congressman Pat Ryan. Called the Courage to Serve Act, this bill would offer qualified and vetted migrants an expedited path to citizenship if they serve in the military. According to Ryan, last year the military services collectively missed recruiting goals by roughly 41,000 recruits, leaving some crucial positions unfilled.
If there are folks with the courage to raise their right hand, take an oath to protect and defend our Constitution, and put their lives on the line for this country, then they sure as hell deserve the opportunity to be citizens in the United States of America.
This bill comes days after a bipartisan border security.
And then there was this former, basically, colonel that came out and said that this is how they're going to use illegals to turn the guns on us. And this made so much sense because I pulled out a map. I told you the depopulation map that just came out this year, which goes up to 2025, even though they lie and say 2100. Notice something, like I said, once again, these green zones are all the areas where migration is going. And in the red areas is where the depopulation zones are. So if you're bringing in a military force that is immigrated here and they get a fast track, and you see the zones that we're looking at right here, these are the areas where the highest targeting happens. And they've got very serious about a couple things here we're going to go into here for you in just a second. Like we said just the other day, and people don't even take it serious, like they had a whole roundtable meeting with law enforcement about a civil emergency in America. I recently just told you that was March 1st they came out with this report, and they said it wouldn't just be National Guard, it'd be private entities there too. So this was something that we talked about here, and this goes and ties in with the scenario at hand. Just saying it again because it's super important. Like, this is the evolving system that we're going to be living in. National Guard held a civil disturbance roundtable discussion focused on potential civil unrest response on March 1st, 2024. They had this meeting. Reading only one other part to you, since everybody thought it wasn't so important the other day. I'm not saying you, but just the general person who comes to the channel. Sometimes this isn't National Guard. Sometimes that might be a civilian or private company. That was the Washington Emergency Management Division said. Another important part was the process of activating members of National Guard. Washington is what is known as a home rule state. Home rule is a term used by emergency managers, which means control of resources in an emergency or disaster is at local level. Cities or towns will make a request for assistance to the county in which it resides. If necessary, the county will forward the request to the State Emergency Operations Center, where it is entered into the Web EOC online database. So let's take this into perspective here. After looking at that map, then look at the timing that the United Nations are going to leave New York, because I didn't go deep into that. I just told you they were leaving, but they happen to pack up and leave right on time. They leave. Look, a fully integrated program technical division will be in place August 2024, ahead of the physical move planned between March September 2025. So here's what I see happening. Excuse me. All of the high assets will be moved from the UN office right away. And maybe they leave the other ones there for the longest period, and they could be stuck in the middle of some event, because that's usually how they do it. They cast them to the wolves. Now, it was also another 2025 scenario called by this Air Force general who said, basically, we'll be at war with China by 2025. Technically, that could be a case, but the internal war that we would face would be from the invaders that's already in, who's probably going to be serving in the military, who's giving orders to come after the average person because of some list, just like I showed you, that was given to them. Don't you think that would be the most common situation? I mean, in all honest reality, this is what it's looking like. And then when we move into it further here, we show you something deeper. They've gotten really serious on their communications systems, because Boeing just awarded $439.6 million contract for a new communication satellite. And it's for these specific times that they mention right here. It says the U.S. Space Force recently selected Boeing, and it says the wideband satellites are designed for provide high data rate tactical communications, even in contested environments and jamming efforts. At a time when nations like Russia have been accused of trying to put nuclear elements and other weapons in orbit, these satellites, according to Boeing, could guarantee resilience for a U.S. communications network at even the worst of times. It will do this through a use of protected tactical waveform in the Ka frequency band. Now remember, the came out just a couple days ago. I did a video and he said we're basically under a laser weapon emergency because they placed them up there. Speaking of laser weapon emergencies, we'll talk about what happened in Texas and how that was a whole setup done by companies, in my opinion, behind it. BlackRock, Vanguard, 100% are behind these companies. And they came out and said, hey, we started it. It was an accident. But then we got to talk about the deeper picture to this, because it's a deeper picture to all the burning up of land that's going to be happening. They said even more throughout the current next decade. One, we've seen melted things on the ground, like, cinder blocks, just like we've seen in directed energy weapons. Two, there was a guy caught by the police department taking down wildfire detection equipment. There's pictures of the guy right there taking down wildfire detection equipment. Looks like a common guy, right? Because that's usually what the portrayed image of anybody who's doing something should look like, so you don't get alarmed. Who knows why he was taking these things down? But for sure, it would stop detection systems from understanding that there was a wildfire there. And the all process of all of it, the burning up of land that we're seeing everywhere. Homes are being bought all over America, and they're not going to be homes anymore. They're going to be where basically the middle class can't even live in the average place anymore. You just rent, basically. So once they burn it up, they then set it up for rent. They then have protocols for a smart city.
You're going to have to get used to asking questions that might make you a little bit uncomfortable.
Then set it up for rent. They then have protocols for a smart city, which, remember the date, 2025, which by 2025, they also expect to produce mass robots. Tulsa said it. China said it. Listen to the video.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
President Xi, who visited this company last year, has called for the mass production of humanoids by 2025.
So if you need to replace a population by 2025, which is exactly what their plan is, you need to basically have mass production of robots by 2025. Now, like we said, the navigation to all this stuff on a map is that the Rocky Mountains area is the area that has the least population. So the forewarning scenario is that they got a plan to have everybody flood us, right? And this was the UN population plan. Let's look on screen here. I'll show how it's all. Everybody flood America and Europe, as you can see on the map. While that's happening, the massive depopulation bomb is in place. America is one of the most toxic countries when it comes to food. And they've created the forces from within to try to battle us. Even though we have the guns, we have everything else. But if you then arm these people that's coming in, you now have a force that you brought here. That's exactly what this plan is detailing. It's exactly how it's all being laid out. So these won't be your, oh, they won't turn their guns on us because they're Americans. They're not. And it doesn't matter. Some of the Americans want to turn their guns on you anyway. So, and then you had all of the millionaires and stuff like that. And we're talking about smart wall and everything. The millionaires started to leave in massive numbers. Before 2025, they already know it's going to happen. Latest data on millionaire migration suggests that rich have fallen out of love with the U.S. Why has America lost its shine? Where are they moving to? If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you go? If you're one of the spirit, many high net worth readers in this question may have cropped up recent as new figures forecast that 2023 will be a record year for international relocations. So yeah, the relocation began, and then we're going to talk the number of relocation. It says around 88,000 millionaires relocated internationally in 2022, according to Henley Partners Research. In 2023, that number went to 125,000, surpassing 2019. And so, because this is where they already see the forecast for what's coming. And then in America, a lot of the rich people like this young, they're just moving to different spots and locations. So the GDP on that level is not going to like crumble super fast. But obviously when people start to leave to have the most wealth, the GDP is going to drop. And what is that going to do to the economy? You know, you got to think about those scenarios. But then it comes the smart wall. The smart wall, right? And we'll pull that up on screen. Where they talk about the smart wall, they've been talking about it for a couple of years, and we'll pull up the diagram. So it was in some predictive programming that when some outer states was hit with devastation, what would happen is they would put walls around only the areas that they deem to be still, you know, good living, not devastated environments. California was one of them in one of the predictive programs. I remember that was on Colony. Smart wall up. Huge wall, drones comes out of it. The real project is right. And they say they want fiber optic sensors. They want, you know, underground cables, detection systems. And that's because, not because they don't want people to get in, it's because they don't want you to get out. Because everybody's already in at this point. You can see travels from all across the U.S.-Mexico border. And so that's really right here on the map where this is all the areas where the border enforcement zones are. So, I mean, it only makes sense why all of the areas of why we would be flooded in certain zones would be the hot zones on the edges of the United States. But meanwhile, of the United States supposed to suffer much more devastating the population plan. So that's moving all the way up from here. 2025 is the biggest plummet. So by 2026, it's going to be like a whole different world. We'll play a background. Also, New York. We're going to get to New York right after this because they've already rolled out where they got troops inside of the areas. We'll come back. They've already rolled out where troops are inside of New York checking people's bags. A lot of people saying like, well, what happened to the Fourth Amendment? No searches, no seizures, and all that stuff. Well, that's gone. And the way they do that is they got to have so many people come in with crime that they can implement this rollout that people will accept it. Instead of saying, well, this is kind of like a slow, soft version of martial law, but is it or is it not? Because they got to condition the population, which is at large conditioned anyway. And most of the people in America are too busy sipping all on the Kool-Aid that they ain't trying to make a change. I mean, most of the people here right now, though, are frustrated with the state of affairs, and they do want to see change. And we can't stand for a society which they say, oh, well, we'll just have to normalize pedos. And that was actually a video that came out where a lady's talking about, oh, our feelings, and we have to accept, like, no, we don't have to accept that. We don't have to accept anything like that. So that's what society crumbles to when at large, nothing is being done. And I think I got the video here that I can show you. It's really upsetting. It honestly is. Because this is what they were trying to do the whole time. They were trying to normalize these events. They were trying to take over. And then they were trying to have us all accept this New World Order system. Where basically they wanted to cripple. They didn't want any families. They didn't want, men and women. They always want us to be in arguments. But this is a drill they do pretty much a lot. It's by airport. It's in Atlanta. And so they always do this drill. They call it something like Big Bird. This is what it's called. It's a freaking weird name. Somebody says in particular, the most are hive minds now. Yeah, most are hive minds. So they had to have actors to go out there and do this drill, obviously. Most people are walking around like drones with a controlled mind. Walking around like robotoids. They're gonna roll out a dictatorship that's technological. Have you seen the pyramid face scanner in Montreal? It's this pyramid face scanner. I'm gonna pull it up in a second. They walk up to, and it's like it's telling you to put your palms on there. You put your palms on there. You show your eyes and stuff like that, and then it says something to you. And so the people walk up to it, and it's like some Black Mirror episode. Somebody says, "I just want to be left alone." Well, in this reality, they ain't gonna leave you alone. So that's when you gotta, you get backed into the corner, and then you gotta come out and you gotta unleash everything on them. Because that's where we're being pushed to. We're getting backed into a corner here. So I'm gonna try to show this video clip where they show people in Montreal walking up to this little technological dictatorship society, Black Mirror style episode looking stuff. Well, looks like it's only playing audio. It's not showing the video. So what I can do here is I can just show you an image of it, if that image shows up. So the image of it, I have it off in the background here, I think. Yeah. I'm going to try to show you this image of it, what they walk up to. And so in society in the future, you'll see like probably these little things being erected where people get knowledge from some red pyramid looking box. Like social credit stuff and scanning your eye. So let's see right here. If it shows up. Because now stuff is starting to not show up, maybe because so much. Yeah, not showing up. So in another video, I'm going to talk about that. Let's talk about it. Since civil unrest was the big topic for the military, if you look under the U.S. Fire Administration, there's something that happens during this civil unrest moment. Activate the emergency operations, support incident area, assign EMS representatives to EOC, assist with coordination, establish method for screening calls and service. Now, what they have is something called hot, cold, and warm zones that EMS will not be responding to. Reason why they can't respond to a hot zone, because it's basically a zone that's super basically devastated, probably gunshots going through it. Warm zone, an area of lower threat, but which may become unsafe, law enforcement support is recommended for entry into the warm zone. This is what America is basically going to become after all this stuff breaks down. I'm just trying to give you the insight on what you would need to know. Cold zone, an area of little to no threat of civil unrest or violence. Law enforcement support is optional for entry into the cold zone. Now, as people, we would need to know what a hot zone is, a warm zone, and a cold zone. And that would be something that would help people actually navigate certain areas of America. It's like right now, you can say New York is becoming a hot zone. Somebody said, yeah, call a live stream. Love watching you. Keep it up. Appreciate that. And so somebody says people better start waking up to the government is giving any clues that something sinister is going to happen soon. And so I'm here giving you the information. I'm here telling you, and people just like, oh yeah, the National Guard and emergency management just talking about civil disturbance. All right, I'm just going to go back to eat my Kellogg's. And the CEO just told you, shut up, America. You eat cereal for breakfast. That dude shouldn't be allowed to walk the street anymore, honestly. Shut up and eat cereal for breakfast. That ain't his actual quotes. But basically he said be quiet or just eat cereal for breakfast. And so now we're emboldened to the point to where we're going to have rich snobs tell us what we should do. I thought in all reality, the fear of the people was supposed to be put into them. But I guess we haven't made them scared enough in order to actually maintain a society. You know what I'm saying? I guess they don't fear what the true wrath of, God and the people who actually don't want any problems look like, They don't fear it. If you want to operate our society and you think you're going to operate like a king and queen over people who own guns, it's kind of stupid. But that's why they try to, use the poisoning process. Because a lot of people just, oh yeah. And remember, just iodine alone, I looked it up, just dripping that in the water, drinking some of that, it showed a reduction in tumors. Showed a lot of reduction in tumors. And the fact that people don't know stuff like this is like insane to me. So moving through the process here about the rich leaving America, the houses being bought up by BlackRock, the fires, the civil unrest, where people are escaping to. They also had something in Indiana that troops were preparing for as well. And so what I looked into, this was the DVids, it was the Army, and they show what they're doing. From a certain area, it says exercise participants supported emergency operations in response to a simulated earthquake in Wabash Valley Seismic Zone, which runs along the southern Indiana-Illinois border. This was a full-scale exercise with the purpose to integrate local, state, federal, and military assets as well as private sector to provide support to local authorities during the disaster response, said Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Stephanie Rayleigh, Director of Military Support at India National Guard Joint Force Headquarters. So yeah, along with whole depopulation, stuff like that, it looks like more of the earthquake in seismic areas and stuff like that is being, and you know, all the laser weapons, I'm not sure, but I think they could be affecting, something. It could be stirring up something with all this going on. So, I mean, the fact that they keep doing that and thinking, and then not just that, the fracking and everything else, that's going to cause a real scenario to come up. Remember the future Navy's map, that map was 2025. Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was 2025. And show how a water line, the water was opening up through America. So, I mean, whatever they got planned is just like in 2025, it's just going to be an entirely different world. You have the information on that right now. You know, I showed you the zones. I showed you where the devastation is going to happen. You got the best knowledge right now in the first line of defense to prepare. You know everything exactly, not exactly, but you know exactly where it's all basically arriving around. So this is going to be like really critical to basically hand out to the next part of the population. Because, again, like we said, this only gets out when you get it out. You are the first line of defense. You are the one who gets it to the masses. You get it to more people. You get it to the family. You get it to all the people who've been talking about the conspiracies forever. That's no longer conspiracies. We're now here like in the really critical moments that the knowledge you present is like that diamond jewel for America. And so if you want to see a different change in the population, if you want to see something different happen, the way to do it is to show where they plan to target us. And that's why we're doing this right now, and to bring the spiritual power that we need. We need the warriors to activate. We need the spiritual ones to activate, the healers to activate. We need our final, activation to come. Because at this point, we're lined up and we know what side we're on. I mean, ain't no in the middle in this one. You either want to be brain chipped or you don't. You either support a pedophile or you don't. You either support just tyranny and just giving up your freedom or you don't. That's where we're at right now. There is no in the middle right now. If you plan in the middle, you still will be caught in the line of fire. So again, that we take this and we use the power within. And like I said, when you go into a situation, you always go calm, no matter what's happening. It's always just deep breaths, relaxation. You're looking at it's like you're looking at the fire incoming, but you just calm. Because at this point, you're shifting your energy and you're protected. And that this is the moment that you've been born for. People didn't listen to you, but now you've been heard. Now that we're in that devastating moment that is going to transform a lot of us. And some of us are not going to come out of it. But as a spiritual being, you will always come out of anything. Death is an illusion. You don't die. You're an eternal soul. The fear of that is really the biggest thing that get people not to do exactly what I'm doing right now. The fear of just being able to take a step in life to do something that actually is not just about your own self. To be selfless in the moment of putting yourself in the line of fire is what a lot of people fear. But right now, we have to let that die down. Because either we let our own freedom die down, we let our own soul die down, and we let the corrupt enemy have his hands, have his way with the children, have his way with us, or we rise to the spiritual occasion. That's what this is about. This full-scale battle, spiritual war. First lines of where it happened, because like I said, the atmosphere, they want to dry it out. They just came out and said that You're not fully human if you say something like that. You're not fully human if you just want to depopulate an entire planet. You're not. Something's behind controlling you. And obviously at the end of it all, it's always these fallen beings controlling them. They're running the plan fully for the fallen beings that's controlling them. This has been happening for years. You can look at many stories depicted of these fallen beings or these entities coming down. It's just like Aleister Crowley said, he talked to one of them and told them how to reprogram the industry of music. And look where we're at right now. The most powerful thing about all of it, though, is how you shape your mind each and every day. So every single time we go through this, it shouldn't bring you down. It should just only say, yeah, all right, I got more knowledge. I'm prepared more. Sure, the world is full of crap. Sure, the world is full of just people who don't listen. But at least I know right now where we're at is where we need to be. And it's going to be a better place that's coming internally. We can only get that better place if we internalize it and then it externalizes. We can never externally look for something better and hope for something to change if we can't internally make the huge change magnificently. So, I'm thankful for every last one of you, for everything you know, for everything. You have your own belief system. You believe what you want. You see what you want. But at the end of the day, we're connected in every single way. I appreciate the support in the video. Please share it out far and wide. We'll have other videos here on the side, and it'll be suggested under the video that is so important that people just don't even really look at. After days and days and days, it's so important that you're here right now to see all this. And remember, donation link below to help. Appreciate that one super chat in this stream.
Hey everybody, it's Colby live from the kitchen here to tell you a little update that I've noticed. When you go into the bulk action section, you will see
battle not with monsters, lest ye become a monster. Yeah. And if you gaze into the abyss gazes also into you.
Right. But I would say, bring